we live in a world now where the internet is taken for granted. Everyone's got the internet. We're using the internet, we're using fast broadband here now. But a lot of younger people have got to realize that before all this, there was no internet.
Born in Pakistan and raised in the UK, Ajaz Ahmed is best known for founding FreeServe, UK's first billion-pound internet company. FreeServe started in 1998 out of a frustration from a very simple question: how do I get?
My eureka moment was that I bought myself a computer and a modem, and I'd heard about this thing called the internet, and I asked the staff in my own shop, because I used to work in PC World, which is a big computer retailer, and I'd spent my entire life working in retail, which is why I like to call myself a shopkeeper.
If I have an idea from an investor perspective, how should I know what a good idea is?
There's no formula. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to tell if you've got a good idea whether it's going to work or not.
Once you got to a £9 billion valuation, walk us through your experience of selling at £1.6 billion.
And one of the things that people have got to understand is if the value of a business is very high, it doesn't mean anything. You can't actually, until you've actually sold the business, paid the tax, and the money is in the bank, it doesn't mean anything. So don't get excited by a big number until you've actually got it and the money's in the bank. Then you can spend it. Before that, you can't spend it.
Welcome to the Immigrant Pod. My name is Martin. I am the host. Our goal, my team and I, is to create a place for immigrants to share ideas, embrace immigrant struggles, and model success paths of immigrants who are shaping the world. From North America to Australia, South America, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, immigrants continue to shape the world. Today's guest turned a simple question into a billion-pound company. The power of questions. Yet he still remains curious enough to refer to himself as a shopkeeper, to be able to see opportunities for what they are. Opportunities. Born in Pakistan and raised in the UK, Ajaz Ahmed is best known for founding FreeServe, UK's first billion-pound internet company. FreeServe started in 1998 out of a frustration from a very simple question: how do I get online? Within just 3 months, FreeServe became UK's largest internet service provider, eventually reaching a market cap or valuation of about £9 billion. That's profound, sir. And sold in less than 3 years for £1.6 billion. Congratulations, sir. But Ajaz isn't just about business success. He is known for cutting through the noise. His cut the crap philosophy challenges the way we think about entrepreneurship, ideas, and execution. Ajaz, welcome to the show. What is beautiful about your life today, and how are you grateful?
Well, what's beautiful about my life is that I can do whatever I want. It's a simple thing. But if you actually work for a living, you're a full-time employee, you have to ask for permission if you want to go on holiday, or if I want to talk to you, or whatever it is. Whereas if you've made something of your life, you can do whatever you want, and that's the biggest thing that makes a difference. I think it's something that people don't think about, but it honestly does make a big difference. Being able to do what you want. If you want to stay at home all day, you can do. If you want to go out all day, you can do. It's small things like that make a difference.
Now, Ajaz, when you say that, for me and you as entrepreneurs, that's music to our ears. And not to demean those who choose to become employees. And for me, for example, my daughter, she hates the idea of entrepreneurship, and she makes a phenomenal employee, right? Is there anything wrong with the people who choose to take that path to serve others?
Well, I mean, first of all, let me tell you what actually inspired me, and that might make a difference. So, when I was still at school, I saw an advert on the television for a bread company, Hovis. And in this bread, there's an old guy, and he is leaving a mill, a textile mill. And he's obviously just retired because he's got a clock under his arm. And he walks home on the streets, and he sits in front of the fire when he gets home, and he eats his bread. And the advert finished, Hovis, good today, as it's always been. And when I saw that advert, I thought to myself, oh my God, that man has worked his entire life, and all he's got is a clock. And I thought, thousands and thousands of people retire every day, and they get their clock from their employer or their friends, and they sit down and they think about all the things that they could have done, should have done, and would have done, but it's too late. And I was determined that when I retire, I want to be able to look back and say, yeah, I made a difference. Now, you're right. Being able to look back and say I made a difference isn't just about making money, being successful as a business person. It can be if you've raised a good family, if you've helped lots of people, if you've actually done very well in your job. It doesn't really matter, as long as you can look back and say, yeah, I made a difference, but also look back and say, yeah, I did what I wanted to do. Rather than look back and say, oh my God, I should have done this, I should have done that. It's too late then. So that was one of the things that inspired me when I was still at school. And that's why I did very well as an employee as well, because I was determined to make sure that I achieved something. Because I know lots of people that haven't really done much with their lives, and it's too late once you retire.
Yeah. Well, so we both agreed that retirement is not the end of life.
No.
It's actually a transition or a transfer from one phase of life to the next phase of life.
It is, yeah, it is.
You built a billion-pound company from one simple question.
Yeah.
What did everyone else around you in that time and in that season not see?
So I'll tell you the story first of all, because we live in a world now where the internet is taken for granted. Everyone's got the internet. We're using the internet. We're using fast broadband here now, but a lot of younger people have got to realize that before all this, there was
just
no
for
internet.
emphasis on your conversation and your reference.
Yeah.
You're in the UK and I'm in Florida.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
We're both in different countries, and I went to Pakistan once, and I'd received an invite to take part in a video debate. And when I looked at the date, I thought, actually, I'm in Pakistan then. But then I thought, actually, it doesn't make a difference. I can be in Pakistan. So I did the video debate while I was in my home city of Lahore. And the people that were watching didn't know that I was in Pakistan. They didn't need to know either, because broadband has made such a big difference to our lives. But before broadband, before Wi-Fi, there was no such thing as the internet. And that's really the inspiration for this. My eureka moment was that I bought myself a computer and a modem. And I'd heard about this thing called the internet. And I asked the staff in my own shop, because I used to work in PC World, which is a big computer retailer. And I'd spent my entire life working in retail, which is why I like to call myself a shopkeeper. And I asked the staff in the shop, how do you get onto the internet? And everyone said, we don't know. We don't know. No one could tell me how to get onto the internet. And then eventually someone in a technical center said to me, you should try this company called Demon Internet in London. So I phoned up Demon Internet and I said to them, I want to go on the internet. What do I need? And the guy said, you need a browser. Now, again, we take the browser for granted. But in those days, Microsoft did not include a browser with Windows because there was nobody on the internet. And he said, you need a browser. I said, how do I get a browser? And he said, you can FTP it from our site. And I thought, what the hell's an FTP? I now know it means File Transfer Protocol. And what that means is you've got to be on the internet to be able to download a browser. And I thought, well, that's no good, is it? So eventually I managed to get a CD from a magazine cover. And the CD had the browser on it. And when I got onto the internet, I was fascinated. I thought, wow, this is the future. In the future, everyone is going to want to go on the internet. And the more I thought about my experience, I thought, every single day people must be walking into our stores and saying, how do you get on the internet? And we say, we don't know. We're turning away people every single day. And I thought, if we become an internet service provider, an ISP, we'll be able to do something that none of our competitors would be able to do, which is go onto the internet. Say to our staff, you need internet access. Here you go. We can give you the CD. You don't have to download it. Here's the CD. And just to let people know, we had 1,000 shops up and down the country, which is, a lot of shops. So lots of people are walking to our stores buying computers. So I thought we can get to the customer first. And also we can, when the customer gets onto the internet, we will be able to control the first page that the customer sees. And we can then use that to sell space in the shopping channels and have our own search engine and things like that. It sounded like such an obvious idea. So I went to the managing director of our company and I told him about my idea, and he said, no, let's just focus on opening more stores. He didn't get it. It's a sort of story you've probably heard many times. He didn't get it. And I almost gave up because this guy had said no to me. And I was reading an American magazine called Vanity Fair. And in this magazine, they'd managed to get together about 50 people, and they called them the new establishment. They said the old establishment were the oil barons and manufacturing kings and people like that. And they said the new establishment are the people that control content and media. And they'd managed to get together Steve Jobs and Bill Gates and all these other big people now. But there was one guy, a guy called Ted Turner. And for those of you who don't know, Ted Turner is the guy that started CNN, the world's first 24-hour news channel. And this guy said about Ted, he said, what people like Ted are required to do is do the obvious before it becomes obvious to everyone else. Because by the time it becomes obvious to everyone else, it's too late, and people like Ted have done it and the other guys haven't. And he said, what possible reason did Ted have to start a 24-hour news channel? And if you think about it, we now all know why he started a 24-hour news channel and why we watch the news. We don't watch the news 24 hours a day. We watch the news whenever we want to watch it. And we can't live without, I don't know about you, but I watch the news all the time. When something happens in the world, the first thing I do is turn the news on a 24-hour news channel. And I thought to myself, wow, just because this guy didn't get my idea doesn't mean to say it was a bad idea. It just means that it's an obvious idea and he didn't get it. So I persevered, and I managed to get through to the group chief executive, and I told him about my idea, and he said, do you know what, I've got no idea if it's going to work, but let's give it a go. And we launched FreeServe in September 1998, and it was an immediate success. And as you said, we became the largest ISP in just 3 short months because it's simple.
Just let me jump in here. First, it's important that it does not escape any immigrants who are watching this show that you did not go out and create your own business.
Yes.
However, you utilized the platform where you're working as an employee and took advantage of their resources and resourcefulness to be able to catapult yourself to the results that you got to.
I think that's very important, yes. People have said to me, why didn't you do it yourself? Because obviously I didn't own all of it then, because I used someone else's money, someone else's resources, 1,000 shops, And the reason I didn't do it myself is because the single biggest reason why businesses fail is because they find it harder than they thought to acquire the customer. It costs more than they thought to acquire the customer. Because we had 1,000 shops, we spent nothing on acquiring the customer. We didn't have to advertise or do any marketing. It was already done in the stores. In the adverts that they had in the newspaper, we had a little box in the corner that advertised our proposition. So it cost us nothing to acquire the customer. And if anybody's tried to start a business, that's the hardest thing of all. But because we had 1,000 shops, it was the easiest thing of all to actually acquire the customer. And it's also the same, by the way, if you want to use someone else's platform, YouTube or Amazon or eBay, you're taking advantage of someone else's platform. You still got to get people to look at you, but because we had all these stores all over the country that were the number one in its field, we managed to get the customers for nothing. And that
very interesting, very, very interesting. So let's peel back that onion, if you don't mind. Right? You're working for somebody else. You see an opportunity, you go to your immediate team leader, you say, hey, this is the opportunity I see. They don't see it, but you don't give up. What was the driving factor? What was that passion that was in your heart that told you there was an opportunity here, that pushed you to become relentless in your pursuit?
Since I was young, I always had this ambition to do well. I think that's the thing. I always had this ambition to do well. I'd always read about other successful people. I'd always read about how people started their businesses. And even if I, hadn't been to university, I'd left my school with nothing, with no qualifications at all. Even though I had no qualifications, I still had this ambition. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to do something so that, as I said about the bread advert, I want to be able to look back and say, yeah, I did something. In my case, I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur. And that's why I carried on. That's why I persevered. If I'd have stayed in my job, I probably would have been a successful area manager or regional director or something like that. So I probably would have done well there, but not to the same level as FreeServe.
Very interesting. So 20% of all businesses that are started in the first year go down. 50% fail within first year.
Yeah.
I mean, fast 5 years, and 65 to 70% fail within 10 years. Right? And so I say that so that we can mold this idea around our listeners that entrepreneurship is not necessarily going out to start your own, but rather is looking at where you are and how you can utilize your idea to bridge on where you are now to be able to be successful. And really the relentless pursuit of that within that sphere. Now, sometimes that's not necessary. It would be the best place to start, but that gives people an opening to start thinking, who do I partner with, right? Sometimes having the whole cake is not the solution, but part of the cake is really what you may need, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think other people think I'm going to have to give some of it up. I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah, it doesn't matter. A small part of something large is better than a large part of nothing. I think.
In today's world, we are at that inflection point where I want to say you were in 1998, right? We have mass introduction 3 years ago of AI into the marketplace. And for me, the AI is not just exciting, but it also scary because of the opportunities that I see that are possible. And so for those who are understanding the future of AI, understand the impact it's going to have in society, have these tremendous ideas of how they can utilize it to change the world, based on your experience of how you got the idea in 98 and how you implemented the idea to get to where you are today, what say you?
Well, first of all, I think people have got to understand not every business is going to work. And I call it ugly baby syndrome. And this is where you've got a couple who've just had a baby, and you go around to look at the baby. And when you get there, when you see the baby, you think, oh shit, that's an ugly baby, isn't it? What you do is you tell a lie. You say, oh, that's really nice, that's really cute. But in business, you can't do that. People are in love with their baby, their business, their idea, but they never ask anybody who hasn't got vested interest. So they might ask their parents who are going to say, of course, that's a great idea, because it's their son or daughter. They might ask their friends who are going to say, yeah, that's great, that is fantastic. But they need to ask someone who hasn't got a vested interest, who's going to tell them the truth. But I mean lots of people where I have to tell them it's not a good idea, and they still carry on doing it, and they end up losing lots and lots of money. So not every business is going to be a good business, and people have got to understand that, and they're in love with their business. I had to tell someone from Uganda, from Zimbabwe actually, a few weeks ago, and the best way of getting it across to him, I said, listen, decide on a deadline. If you haven't got anywhere by this date, then stop. Don't waste any more money. And it was the kindest way of telling him, I don't think it's a good idea. Don't carry on doing it. I've seen too many people waste valuable time and, more importantly, valuable money on ideas that are not going to work. So not every idea is going to be a good idea. And that's something that people need to really understand. But there are people with good ideas as well. And deciding on which one is going to work, it's very difficult.
Ajaz Ahmed, you are an investor now. And researching you, I discovered you're my kind of investor.
Right.
You're just not investing capital, but you also want to invest yourself.
Yes.
So, one, I appreciate that. But if I have an idea from an investor perspective, how should I know what a good idea is?
There's no formula, unfortunately. If there was, then people would invest in the ones that are going to work, because there's a formula that people follow. There isn't. It's very difficult to tell if you've got a good idea whether it's going to work or not. Very difficult. But having said that, I would have turned away some great ideas as well. If someone from Airbnb had come to me, I would have turned them down, because I would have thought, I don't want to stay in people's houses. People don't want to stay in people's houses. That's not going to work. And there's other ideas that I would have turned down that are very, very successful. So unfortunately, there isn't a formula that people can follow. It's just about having the right idea at the right time and being able to understand what the market is. A big company in the UK, I don't know whether it's in other parts of the world, is Vinted. They sell clothes. People sell clothes. I could sell this shirt and they put it on there, and it will sell. It's doing very, very well. Apparently, they're going to have a very large valuation, £8 billion valuation. I probably would have turned them down as well. I would have thought, who's going to buy second-hand clothes on the internet? But they're doing very, very well. So I can't tell you if it's a good idea because there is no formula, you know. So
let me push back on the idea of there is no formula. I think what you're saying is there's no formula of telling if your idea can be successful. But I am very convinced, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's an idea of testing your business idea to see if it's something that can come into the marketplace and can work in the marketplace. For example, if I have an idea to sell used clothing and I'm not sure if that's an idea that would work, would a feasibility study be able to help me do that?
Probably not.
If I was to conduct a survey online to ask people, how many of you are willing to sell your used and favorite jacket, and how many of you are willing to buy the same jacket, would that be able to tell me if that would be something that we can exploit?
No, because one of the things you can't do is ask customers. There's too many companies that ask customers. So Henry Ford had the best quote, which is, he said, if I'd have asked customers, they probably would have told me they need a faster horse and cart. And Kodak invented the digital camera, but they asked their customers, and their customers said they want better quality film. Apple don't ask customers either, because it's very difficult. And when you see it, so I was at the launch of the iPod. Apple invited me to the launch, and when Apple invite you, they don't actually tell you what they're going to launch. You know, you just go because it's Apple. And when Steve Jobs pulled out this iPod and he said, "It's got 1,000. You can have 1,000 songs in your pocket." Wow! But if they'd have asked me, I would have said I want a better Sony Walkman. So it's actually quite difficult asking customers, and then doing a survey, like you said, that's actually very difficult as well, because you've not actually launched it, and you know, you're not launching something that is real. You're asking people whether if this was available, would you buy it? You know, it's not going to work, unfortunately. You've got to be the believer.
So if we cut through the crop, Ahmed, if we cut through the crop,
yep.
How do I know my business is going to the marketplace and it may or may not work?
You don't know. By the way, people know why you say cut the crap.
Well, tell us why.
Yeah. So when just so that you know, I get asked to give lots of talks, and I was fed up of listening to people talking crap. Talks. They have PowerPoint slides with lots of information on it, and they're talking lots of crap. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna name my company Cut the Crap, and I'm gonna make sure that I cut the crap. And I don't know whether you can see it.
Oh, very clear.
Very clear. Cut the crap. No nonsense. I don't know. Can you read it from there?
Yes.
Yeah. No nonsense. What else does it say?
No nonsense. Can you bring it closer?
Yeah.
No jargon and to the point. No nonsense, no jargon, to the point.
Yeah.
Ajaz Ahmed.
Yeah. So my presentation has got plain white background, no pictures, no graphs, with just a few words on it. That's it. And it means that I have to look at the audience, whereas lots of people have lots of text, lots of pictures, lots of graphs, and it means that they spend most of their time looking at their own slides rather than the audience. I always look at the audience because there's nothing to read there. There's only one or two words, and that's it. So that's why you've obviously done some research, and that's why you're saying cut the crap. So that's why it's called Cut the Crap, and I like to cut the crap. So what was the question you asked?
Does being born in Pakistan have anything to do with your ability to identify opportunity and the pursuit of it?
Um, well, one of the things I think people need to also know is that I came from Pakistan when I was young. So that's why I've got a good English accent, and I virtually grew up here. So I went to school when I was about 5 years old, and I didn't know English properly then. And there was an awful lot of my friends who were also in the same situation, and there was still lots of racism in the UK at that time. Lots of racism, and I think that helped. Wanted to be successful because we didn't have a great life when we were young, and I think that does help. Whereas some of the other kids, British kids, they had a completely different lifestyle, nicer houses, and lots of things that we could just dream about. So yeah, I think that makes a difference, definitely, but not always. But yeah.
So tell us, what is the advantage that, from your own assessment, that immigrants have that other people don't?
Well, from what I've seen, especially the ones that are older, they come from a country where working hard is something that people take for granted. So when they come here, they work hard. They're also coming here because they want to earn more money, and also they want to send money back home as well to look after their family, maybe their brothers and sisters, their parents, things like that. So I think just by working hard, I think is something that people might take for granted, but it's not. People that come from other countries probably work harder, and the people listening to this will probably identify with that. They're willing to work harder to achieve success, and that's always been the case throughout history.
Yeah. So if you could delete, let's say, 90% of the noise online about business, what would that be, or what would remain?
That's a difficult question. What would the crap, all the things that aren't relevant, instead of just getting to the point. It's I had to talk to someone last week, and I had to explain to him, you've got too much text on there. You've got words that aren't necessary. You need to say it in a simpler way. You need to be able to get the message across. I see too many people using far too many words, colors, pictures. They just aren't relevant. They don't understand that people have got a very, very short attention span. You have, I have, most people have. When they read an email, you don't actually read it. I don't know whether you know. All you do is you go like that. You scan it. You scan it. You don't actually read it. And your eye goes in a zigzag way like that.
I am a victim of it.
Yeah, that's why newspapers have got small columns, because your eyes just do that. And then people have got PowerPoints or emails with a wide column. Nobody's going to read it. So you need to get rid of the crap and just get to the point in a nice way. You can use color if you want to, but think to yourself, are the people that I'm talking to, do they actually understand? Do they actually understand what I'm saying? Am I getting to the point? So get rid of the crap and just focus on what it is. So people have got very, very short attention spans. Your first impression counts. If you walk into a room full of people to maybe pitch your idea or to talk about what you want to do or something like that. If you don't look the right way, they'll probably make their mind up before you even start talking.
If I walk into a room to pitch an idea, what makes a good idea?
Again, there isn't a formula, but what makes a good idea is things like you've got to be able to get the message across in an easy way. You've got to be able to get across the reasons why you think it's going to work. If you've got any examples, you've got to be able to quote them. You've got to make sure that you don't get things in the wrong order. I see too many people that get things in the wrong order, and don't do that. Because if I'm an investor, will you please talk about the idea? I don't want to know about where you went to university. I don't want to know about who you've got on your board. Just tell me what the idea is. Tell me how you're going to make money. Get things in the right order. Get to the point. Cut the crap, basically.
Once you got to a £9 billion valuation, walk us through your experience of selling at 1.6 billion pounds. What happened from a $9 billion valuation to a 1.6 billion? And by the way, we're not talking about small numbers here. These are giant numbers. So go for it.
Okay. First of all, the younger people don't probably realize, and the older people do, that there was a dot-com boom, as they called it. Prices were really, really high. And then there was a dot-com crash. That's why the price went from 9 billion to selling at 1.6 billion. And one of the things that people have got to understand is if the value of a business is very high, it doesn't mean anything. You can't actually, until you've actually sold the business, paid the tax, and the money is in the bank, it doesn't mean anything. So don't get excited by a big number until you've actually got it and the money's in the bank. Then you can spend it. Before that, you can't spend it. I remember one day I looked at what I was worth and it went up by £1 million. But there was no point getting excited because I couldn't spend it. It was just a number. It's the same if you've got a big house that's worth millions. It doesn't really mean anything unless you've actually sold it and you've got the money in the bank account. So it's the same with that. As I said at the beginning, money and success gives you freedom. That's what money does. But I don't think I've changed as a person. I'm still the same person that I was before. I still like to get a bargain if I can. So I think I've met people that have changed once they've been successful. I don't think that's right. You've got your family, you've got your friends, still treat them as normal. But it's freedom. That's the difference it makes in life.
To humanize your ideas, really. What's the one idea that you were so crazy about, that you were so convinced was a great idea, and you lost or realized it was a shitty idea?
Well, one of the things after FreeServe was, when you've got a bit of money in the bank, you start investing in things. So I invested in a few businesses and they didn't work. So I learned some important lessons there. So I learned two lessons. One, if you put some money into a business and it's not working, you end up putting more money in to protect the money that you've put in. So for instance, let's say it's £50,000, and then the company says it's not going well. You put another 50,000 in because you want to protect the 50,000, and then you've got 100,000 that you need to protect. So you put another 100,000 in, and then before you know it, you've lost 200,000. And then the best way of doing it is if you put some money in and it's not working, just say, that's it, I've lost that, move on. The other thing I learned was that if I'm going to invest in a business, I need to be involved with that business rather than just invest in it, so that I can make a difference to that business. So I don't want to invest in a business unless I'm actually part of the business as the chairman or something like that, so I can help with my experience and help the direction of the business. If you invest in a public company that's on the stock exchange, that's obviously different. You're not going to get involved in that business. You're just buying shares in that business. But if you invest as an investor, then I'm only going to do it if I can actually be part of that business. No point giving someone money and watching them win or lose your investment. But the other thing is, if it's not working, then don't put any more in.
Mr. Ahmed, you have referenced reading over and over in the last 45 minutes of our conversation. Talk to us as to why reading is a part of your life and how it has helped sharpen your soul.
Yeah, I love to read, but I've just got to point out I don't like to read books. I buy books and I don't read them because it takes too long. I love to read magazine articles. I love to read small articles, and you learn a lot from that. So when I read something that I think is very, very useful, wisdom for instance, I'll copy a paragraph or a few lines and I'll put it in my I've got an Apple computer, an Apple Notes, and I've got a folder in there that says wisdom. I've got another folder that says something else, and I can then look at it again and recall things. But I learn a lot by just reading. I think that's very, very important. I don't play games. I don't actually use social media either, other than LinkedIn, because I've seen how addictive it is, and people end up doing the wrong things with it. So I read a lot. I also do watch YouTube as well, but I watch YouTube in the sense that I'm learning things on YouTube. The best free university in the world is actually YouTube. Whatever you want to know, you can find it on there. You can find someone else talking about it. You can learn an awful lot from YouTube. And I've got YouTube Premium where you don't see any adverts as well. Fantastic. Really is fantastic. Yeah. But I love reading, and it helps an awful lot. It really does, and I would encourage everyone to do it.
Very interesting. So when you're in front of a crowd of people and you want to talk about cutting the crop, what are some of the fundamental lessons that you're passing on to the people who are listening to you?
I'm talking about the lessons that I've learned before and the lessons that I learned afterwards as well, after FreeServe. And there's some very, very valuable lessons. And one of the lessons is storytelling. People remember stories. And if you look at some of the advertising campaigns that big companies do, what they're doing is telling stories, and people remember stories. And all I've done to you so far is tell you stories. So you'll remember Cut the Crop. You'll also remember Ugly Baby Syndrome, because I've put it in a way that's actually a story. People remember the stories that I tell. And that's very, very important. So all I'm doing is when I go on the stage is I tell a series of short stories. They don't realize it until afterwards. An advert.
Thank you for the title for this show.
Stories as well.
Yeah. So we already know what our show is going to be titled, The Ugly Baby Syndrome. So that's very interesting. Walk us again through the idea of the Ugly Baby Syndrome, because this is really important for people to be able to have clarity in whatever pursuit that they have in life.
So what was that question? I didn't hear the beginning of it, sorry.
Walk us through the idea of conceptualizing the ugly baby syndrome.
Right. Okay.
What is that framework?
Well, I think it's a bit like, I don't know whether there's talent shows where people live all over the world, and they think they can sing, and they go on the stage, and they end up being told they can't sing. But in the audience or behind the stage, they've got their parents there who've got a t-shirt on, who are praying, because they think their sons or daughters can sing, and they've asked the wrong people, "Can I sing?" So you need to ask people that have got no vested interest, and ask them, "What do you think about this idea?" And see what they say. But sometimes it's impossible, because you've got to be able to get it across in a way that they'll give you a fair assessment as well. Because people do like to say no as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I've also learned is that everyone's an expert. When you start talking about things, everyone all of a sudden becomes an expert in that thing. So it's really the formula for ugly baby syndrome is try and ask people who can give you an opinion, who haven't got vested interest that'll tell you the truth. But also, ugly baby syndrome in merely the fact that not every idea is going to be a good idea. Not every idea is going to work. And if you think about that, where I started from, which is that you go to visit a baby and they're in love with their baby because it's their baby, and then you see it and you think, "Oh God, that's an awful baby, isn't it?" That's how you need to start thinking about if you've got an idea. You are going to be in love with your idea because it's your baby. Try and find someone who will tell you the truth.
What you're referring to is the idea of having clarity and rationale, right? To pursue something, you need to have clarity, and you need to have a rational mindset to be able to get there. You've obviously done that very well in life. You have the results to show for it. In your success, you also discovered much failure. Talk to us about failure and how you have trained your mindset to overcome failure.
One of the things that I know is that just like ugly baby syndrome, not everything is going to work. And if it doesn't work, then fine. As long as you know when to stop. If you decide in your mind when is too long, when is too much money, you decide and just don't carry on, because your brain's going to carry on trying to be a success. The other one also is pivot. If it's not working, change direction, change the proposition, but don't carry on spending money when you don't need to spend it. So I understand these rules now, so I won't carry on with something for too long if it's not going to work. If it means pivoting the idea, you start off doing this, but then you decide, actually I'm going to move it to do that, then pivot is very, very important. And lots of big businesses pivot. Lots of businesses that have gone bankrupt didn't pivot. They didn't change as the world changes. There's going to be lots of businesses that are going to go out of businesses because they haven't embraced new technology like AI. There's going to be an awful lot because they keep on telling themselves the reason why it's not going to affect their business. So when we launched FreeServe, the incumbents were two big American companies. They did not pivot to copy FreeServe. They thought, we've got lots of money, we've got lots of customers, it's not going to affect us. 3 months later, they were gone. So pivoting is also very, very important.
Excellent. So, Mr. Ahmed, the most powerful ideas, they come from the simplest questions. You asked a very simple question and went ahead and changed UK. If there's one takeaway from today's conversation, what would that be?
If there was one, okay, that's a hard one, isn't it? If there was one thing, I think it's as I showed on my cut the crap card, no nonsense, no jargon, to the point. I hate it when people talk and use jargon and acronyms. Don't do that. Keep it simple, get to the point, and don't talk about things that aren't relevant. And try and get the message across in a simple way, so that the other person understands. And try and make sure that you understand that people have got short attention spans. People don't read. If you produce a document that's got lots of text on it, before you give it to someone, understand they're not going to read it. People think they're going to read it. They're not. All they're going to do is scan the text. And from tomorrow, when you look at your emails, just think about what you do. You just scan it. That's it. So you've got to get the message across. And the whole idea of copywriting is, if you write something, then you've got to get them to read the next line. That's what good copy is about. Just because you've written it doesn't mean to say that anybody's going to read it. So that really is, cutting the crap, getting to the point, getting your message across in a way that people can understand it. Trying to understand a bit of psychology as well, which is really what I've been talking about today. It's about psychology, and that's what big businesses do. Another thing I would recommend that people do is go to the supermarket and don't buy anything. And the reason why I would recommend that is, if you walk around the supermarket and pick things up, you'll see how big brands communicate their message, and you'll see that they're very good at saying a lot using very few words. You can do the same. Learn from big brands and walk around and pick things up. Don't buy anything, because if you buy something, you get distracted. Just go there with one intention, which is to look at how big brands get their message across in a simple way.
Very interesting. Thank you, sir. That reminds me of a great investor, Sam Walton.
Yes.
Right. Reading his biography, he talks about how he used to go into the stores and look at the display and the sizes and the placement, to be able to go back to his stores and not just copy ideas, but take the best ideas and place them in front of. So that's really interesting. Thank you. So for before we're getting to the top of the hour, for those immigrants who are still with us in this beautiful conversation, sir, how can they link up with you so that they can hear you talk about cutting the crop?
I think, I gave a talk in Africa recently on Zoom. I didn't go there. I think if anybody wants me to talk, then I can give a talk on social media, Zoom or something like that. But if someone wants to talk to me directly one-to-one, then it's a bit more difficult, isn't it? Because there's lots of people that want to talk. I get lots of people that want to connect with me on LinkedIn, and because I don't know them, I reject them. But someone does want to connect with me on LinkedIn, provided they say that they heard me talk on this, then I'll connect with them. But if they just connect with me, then I won't connect with them, because I get lots of people trying to connect, as you can imagine. But if someone wants to do that, then I'm happy to connect with them, and then they can write to me, as long as they don't take advantage and ask me hundreds of questions. And that's fine. I don't mind at all.
Ajaz, thank you. Thank you so much for making the time for the Immigrant Nation, and thank you for making the time for immigrants across the globe. Listeners, you can follow this conversation on TikTok and Instagram at The Immigrant Nation, Facebook, The Immigrant Nation Podcast, LinkedIn and YouTube at The Immigrant Nation, and obviously on Spotify, The Immigrant Nation. Ajaz, before we sign off, is there any one thing that we were supposed to talk about that I did not ask you or talk about?
No, I think you did quite well. I think we got across all the things that people need to know when they want to start a business. That's great.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you, sir. Hey, listen, we appreciate you very, very much. Obviously, we'll stay in touch. We would like for you to come back again to the show and give more and more. We demand more. Somehow we just end up demanding more.
Yeah,
So,
I
anyways,
can't believe it's
thank
been
you,
an
sir.
hour. So no, I've obviously enjoyed it. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate you. You've been great. God bless you and welcome again to the Immigrant Pod.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day, sir. Thank you.